right, so I am going to show you a little bit from our free Loft with a Great Horned Owl training course, just kind of how we worked through some of his step up issues, because this is a pretty common issue. So these are sped up videos, just so you know. We had him in a temporary muse while we were building his muse, and this is very early on in his training. So we are not manipulating his weight in any way. And what you're seeing here basically is that while he is, we put his bunches of food on his shelf, and then as long as he's looking at the food, we'll step away and give him space. But then when he looks away from the food, then we will actually go back and prompt him or just like stay close. So this is probably his second training session ever. And so you'll see us kind of work through some of the issues that we're just kind of trying to feel it out. So again, about a 10 by 12 enclosure here, and it's right in the middle of August, so it's pretty warm. And usually we don't have a really super motivated owl, so he is looking at the food, so she steps back, and then you're going to see her step towards the food as you know as he looks away, and then he looks back at the food. So this is kind of this dance that we do, and it's basically using negative reinforcement. It's using that critical contingency that that he wants space away from her to step away from the food, and he's looking at her, and so we're just kind of trying to figure out that sort of really, sort of sweet spot that it will take. So she'll even lift her hand towards the food to close that distance. And, he's distracted. He's using all of these other sort of reinforcers that are competing with the food. They're not valid, but he can, we've seen that with other owls where they'll pay attention to smaller things that they wouldn't normally pay attention to. So we're trying to see, again, which is the more likely perch that is easiest for him. This is more exposed, but it's closer. So we just are trying to figure out, what is the best. There's quite a few minutes that have actually passed in this scenario. So we just want to see what is the best for him. He's probably eating about 80 to 100 grams. It's the middle of August. It's pretty warm. And we just want him to, get a good view of what this contingency sort of pattern is going to be. And then when he, looks, away at the food, we're kind of getting our timing here really carefully. So sometimes it's harder to see with this, with the camera angle. So like an owl typically, is going to do, then suddenly as soon as he really starts to make movements, she leaves the muse immediately. So that was really just, like, okay, he's committed. And so he is suddenly very, just very into the food. And so she leaves. She wants that to be very obvious. Like, as soon as you go to that food, I'm out. This isn't just about training the owl. You can see, like, we're really careful about how we clean around him. He's molting. So, we're trying to be really careful about all of the skills that we're building, all of the information that we're giving him, and just kind of all of the things that go into, just how we want to be around him that are going to give him, again, information about what that critical contingency is. Okay, so just for reference, this is just about a week later, and we have been really working on this pattern. So, uh, still in August, obviously, and we are feeding him his whole diet. This is obviously still sped up, but this whole session takes like fractions, exponentially less time. You can see he's still kind of going through that molt. She's staying close to him because she's staying close to the food because he wasn't looking, but then wow, he's fast. Because he was looking away, but then he immediately, flew over there pretty much. So we gave him about 1/3 at first, and then we feed him the rest. So there's that huge pile of food. She is introducing the tap cue, and then he barely gives her any amount of time. So this is where we're actually increasing our criteria, right? So you can see she still stayed by the food, but then she, stepped back just a little. So that's where we are increasing our criteria so that we're getting him used to flying closer to us. Okay, I think this is one of the more helpful ones because she is going to show just kind of that middle moment where, the bird isn't stepping up quite yet, but he is still just, learning how to come close to the glove. So we've skipped over several sessions, but he comes over, and remember, this is, a fully flighted owl, but these steps still work if your owl isn't doesn't have full mobility. So she's learning kind of that, that what we need to do in order to, to reinforce with space still. So, she got him to orient towards her glove. So she drops her glove down and feeds him. So we're accessing that critical consequence, right? So she's feeding over top of her glove. She's actually moving a lot more slowly. Once again, I sped up here just so that we could kind of see some of the movements sort of in not real time, but just kind of in a really lovely, just a lovely broken up way. And then she ends the session. This whole session was about a minute and a half, but the way that it ended was really nice. And he gets the rest of his food later, but we wanted to end it in a way that he didn't start accessing any more avoidance based behaviors. So that was kind of what was important there. So, yeah, that is part of the success part of the video, or the training session, I should say. Okay, so this is just a couple of days later. I did not speed this up because it's a pretty short video. As soon as he did step up, my phone ran out of space as it happened. So this is him coming on over as per usual. And this was his first step up. It could have been his second, actually. I don't think I got his first one on my glove on video. So you can see space is no longer the critical contingency here, right? So again, using that really important part of science where it is dynamic, then she is assessing that it's just food. And so he is fully on her glove and, no longer accessing space as the reinforcer. And I just want to reiterate, we did not manipulate his weight at all during this time. So he is up, comfortable. Okay. So then, able to just like slowly lower him down. And Bob's your uncle. That's our first step up. He's showing a lot of comfort. So while she could have just, put him right back on, this is a bird that's giving us no reason to be concerned. Again, I think this was his second step up. So, just showing us a lot of comfort on the glove. If you want to see the rest of our free loft training, we do have the course on demand as well as everything. We have several different birds that we free loft trained just like this in the avian behavior lab.